and they went back and they looked at all their IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. They looked at all their cases over something like 10-year period, looking at weights, looking at BMI. And what they found out, if you provide the proper care to all people of all size bodies, the success rates were the same for live birth rate and healthy children.
Whether you're planning to conceive, already navigating your fertility journey, or adjusting to life with a new baby, one thing is clear: nutrition matters before, during, and after pregnancy. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Judy Simon, a registered dietitian nutritionist, pioneer in the field, and nationally recognized expert in nutrition and fertility. Judy is a creator of the Food for Fertility program, an incentive class that offers lifestyle coaching in a supportive community setting. Her experience running this program inspired her and her co-author to write the book Getting to Baby, a food-first fertility plan to improve your odds and shorten your time to pregnancy. In this first part of our conversation, we'll explore the powerful connection between diet and fertility and what you need to know to nourish yourself and your partner before and during pregnancy. Well, welcome to the show, and I'm really excited to have you here as my fellow local Seattleite. We've known each other for a long time, and your area of expertise is not a deep area of my expertise, so I'm really excited to learn from you today. I'm really interested in some of the background here. What first sparked your passion for this work?
I've been a dietitian a long time. I was always drawn to maternal nutrition even before I went on my pregnancy journey. And back in the day, this is really early fertility, there was a high rate of multiple births. We're talking not just twins, but triplets, quads. And this was in the early days of assisted reproductive technology. This doesn't happen anymore, very rare. And I was working with those women in the hospital, really trying to learn what were their needs? How could we support multiples? And that was kind of the beginning. And then I went on my own fertility journey for many years with no answers. We knew about preconception and preparing for pregnancy, but not what to do when it doesn't work. Like there was just nothing out there 20 years ago. And so fast forward, when I moved to Seattle, started at University of Washington, honestly, it was my introduction to PCOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome. I started working with these women, saw all the challenges they had. Nutrition was so important, helping them with their lifestyle. But then I saw the connection to the struggles I had with fertility, because I knew that space was lacking. And I had very few mentors on the nutrition side. So I really had to go to the reproductive endocrinologist and join all their groups and their conferences.
Yeah, this area has come so far. And out of all of that, you very recently published an amazing book. It's called Getting to Baby, a food-first fertility plan to improve your odds and shorten your time to pregnancy. Tell me a little bit about the book, Judy, and what gap it fills in the fertility conversation.
Thank you so much for bringing up our book. I'm so proud of it. It's been out about a year. And really, as I went on that journey, I was so lucky to meet my co-author, Dr. Angela Thayer, triple board certified reproductive endocrinologist who loves food. And in her fellowship, she'd worked on lifestyle with PCOS and fertility. So she really wanted to partner with dietitians. And I went on to start a private practice about 18, 19 years ago, really specializing in fertility, a little bit of eating disorders. And I was primarily women were being referred to me, very few men. And in the beginning, they were often referred like, oh, her weight's high, help her lose weight. And I knew it was more than that. And I would work with these women, and I really had to get down to culinary medicine and skills and really be practical, not just say count calories or carbs. And I decided that these amazing women, what if I started class? So I developed these 6 to 7 week series. 12 women I would have worked with them. They would learn about nutrition, but we would actually not just talk about it. We would eat it. We would cook it. We would prepare it. We'd set goals together. And all of a sudden, these women felt like, oh, I'm not the only woman trying to get pregnant who's not ovulating or having to make a weight cutoff for an IVF cycle. And I'd have yoga instructors come in, and we would actually take a walk after every class. And it built a sense of community. Well, we actually did publish some of our research, and we found that in just 6 or 7 weeks, that they could improve their biomarkers. I mean, we could see improvements in health that led to healthy fertility. and pregnancy, not just getting pregnant, but having a healthy baby. We collected stories with so many stories that we recorded. And we thought if we could reach a much wider audience than 12 women at a time in a Food for Fertility class, let's write a book with the stories and the recipes. We don't want to make people scared. We wanted them to feel safe. And then we built in a lot of culinary tips, which was really fun, which dietitians, we've been doing this forever, but the rest of the healthcare professionals are really seeing the need for this.
Yeah, it's an incredible resource. I didn't realize that it was born out of those classes.
Yes.
That's really cool. And I also didn't know that you had published that research, because that's really compelling that after such a short period of time, by building community and some cooking skills and taking walks, you can see a real change.
You can. And that's why I think the stories are important, because I can tell a patient, hey, read the story about April. She had an eating disorder. She was told her eggs had terrible quality. And once it was diagnosed and she was able to eat the foods and nourish herself, she went on and had 2 children. After being told IVF failed, you probably have to get donor eggs or something like that there was still something she could do. And I think it's really important for people to hear those stories, but also provide an evidence-based background, knowing there's a lot we don't know, but there's a lot we do know. And I think, and I hope we'll talk about this more, but so often weight is what's always been thrown at women. Oh, well, you're too large. And I just was a co-author in a study with University of Washington, which doesn't have a weight limit. And they went back and they looked at all the IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. They looked at all their cases over something like 10-year period, looking at weights, looking at BMI. And what they found out, if you provide the proper care to all people of all size bodies, the success rates were the same for live birth rate and healthy children. And that is phenomenal news to hear, because men and women are often fat shamed about fertility, and then health just goes down the drain. So we thought that's why this book was, a lot of the women in those stories were in larger bodies and ended up having very healthy pregnancies because we helped them at the preconception level.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk about it too, because I don't even know how many people, 50, 100 people have come to me and been like, I have PCOS, I need to lose weight. My doctor told me I need to lose weight. Like, it's just this like broken record. And I'm always like, okay, and what else is going on here? Like, let's look at the whole picture. So I love hearing that not everyone with PCOS lives in a larger body, but many do. And so just saying lose weight, that's not really going to work. We can't just like cut calories for these folks and wish them on their way. It doesn't work that way.
And it's not proven to have better outcomes. They've done studies in the fertility world where they had women do 12-week, pretty strict diets that were monitored and oral stat and all that, compared to the other ones. They said, do normal lifestyle. So those women lost 12 weeks. Your eggs just get older, and they were more in a catabolic breakdown state. And they had poor outcomes. So they finally go, oh, I guess dieting doesn't work. Well, at least the way they did it. We could do a whole podcast on weight bias. But I just want to bring up that early, that when you're in the space, anywhere from prenatal, preconception, prenatal, postpartum, women and men are concerned about weight, but they get a lot of pushback on that. And if you look at the science, it's just blown out of proportion when it comes to weight. You can be healthier at every weight.
I think that's a huge takeaway for today. And I hope that it offers people a lot of hope and inspiration. But you've mentioned a couple times now the discussion around nutrition and its support for fertility for both men and women. And it sounds like from your work, like the male conversation is a little newer.
I feel like for males, what happens is if they are at the point that they get a fertility workup, and usually men don't think about, hey, we're going to have a baby, we want to get pregnant, I better get healthy. That really happens. It all goes on. When I say women, I mean the person with a uterus, because obviously we have trans patients, but I'm in it for the purpose of this talk, and people with testes. So those people with testes, they don't always think about like, hey, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to take my prenatal. I'm going to do this. It's not until they end up at a fertility clinic and there's a problem that they're like, oh, they checked my semen, my sperm analysis, and it's not so great. And then they do a deeper dive into his health. So 20 to 30% of infertility is caused by male factors. So we know that men are producing new sperm every 70 to 80 days. So that means in 2 to 3 months, they can potentially improve their sperm quality, their side of the equation. So their sperm quality does decline after 40. Women, it's earlier age, which we'll talk about. And then there's a combined male and female factor of 20 to 30%. So for example, the majority of my patients are female. I always ask about their partner. If there's a partner involved, what is their health? Like, oh yeah, their sperm are fine. I go, no. I want to know more about their health. Because if they have a chronic disease, how they're eating, substances they may be using, alcohol, cannabis, can all have an impact. And plus, they should be supporting the person anyways. So there is an association with nutrition. And we know that a lot of oxidative stress can damage sperm DNA. It's very, very fragile. Metabolic issues, diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia that's not controlled, high heat exposure, occupational exposure. So quite often, like I see women going for preconception visits, even if it's not fertility, but men don't. I'll mention that to people. If you eat 1 Brazil nut a day, you get all the selenium. So how easy it is on the male side, having adequate vitamin D, having fish. So there is a lot because antioxidants from diet are really helpful. We do need to include male health. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly important. And yeah, that oxidative stress. So meaning when we give foods that have antioxidants, it helps the DNA replication cycle and it helps like calm inflammation in the body.
Absolutely. And like I said, you may have millions of sperm, but they are really impacted by oxidative stress. And that is why you might think, oh, well, there's so many, somebody's going to make it. No, they can be really poor quality. And what a difference reducing oxidative stress can do and how easy it is with a more plant-forward diet. Even with men, we found how much red meat and the quality of the red meat really can make a difference. It's kind of make some room on that plate for the veggies, whole grains, nuts. And I think as we're seeing nationwide for preventing most chronic disease, all those guidelines really improve fertility. It's not like you have to do something different for healthy living. I always say, what's the side effect of eating more healthfully? Nothing. Because patients always tell me they feel better and they feel more alert and they sleep better and their gut's better.
Right. I tell people, Judy, all the time, I tell them that I take the slow, unsexy approach to nutrition, meaning exercise and eating more fruits and veggies. Like that actually works. It is evidence-based, but it's not like a quick fix. You got to put in the work.
Right. And talking about time in the fertility world, sometimes people will reach out and will say, I'm 42. I've had 2 failed IVF cycles. I'm going to try to retrieve again. I want to use my own eggs. And if you're a dietitian or healthcare professional, you really have to understand the limitations of age. We have a finite amount of eggs. What we can impact in that 90 days preconception before an egg is released, helping reduce stress, improve with antioxidants, improve that follicular fluid, but we can't turn 45-year-old eggs into 25-year-old eggs, right? So the miscarriage rate goes up. So it really should become a part of women's health. And so again, being healthy, don't wait to get healthy till you want to get pregnant, take the eggs out of the freezer, continue to have a healthy lifestyle and preparation.
Right. There's so much chatter right now about heart health ongoing. Cognitive health is really hot right now. Anti-aging always. But I don't feel like fertility is as much of that conversation as it should be.
No, there's some really good people talking about it. Like, yeah, aging is the hardest thing. There is some people will recommend some of the supplements to help aging, but we don't really have any live birth rate studies. We have very little studies. So I always want them to know if they decide to take some of these supplements, please don't put all your hope in that basket. Do the things that we know have more data behind them. And then if appropriate, talk to your team.
This episode is brought to you by Orgain. Busy days being a mom can make it hard to eat well, but Orgain's organic nutrition shakes make it a little easier. Packed with 16 grams of protein, plus 21 vitamins and minerals, it's certified organic, convenient, grab-and-go nutrition in 4 delicious flavors. Whether it's breakfast on the run or a quick snack between school and soccer practice, this shake gives you clean, simple nutrition when you need it most. Check it out at Orgain.com. So I do want to talk both about nutrition and lifestyle, but also supplements. So for anyone new to this space, I'd love to talk about some of the top nutritional concerns that people need to think about, and then also how we get folks started. Because if you're going through fertility, there's probably a lot on your mind. You're in a very busy part of life. Like, what do you focus on the most, and how do you help people make those changes?
Yeah, so I think these really good points, Ginger. It's important when someone is going through fertility. Do they have any condition which might make fertility more challenging? So what's the number 1, number 2 reason women enter fertility clinic? PCOS, endometriosis, both very inflammatory. Anytime you have a condition where you have anovulation, you're not ovulating. With PCOS, you're often not ovulating or predictably or regularly. If you are someone who's maybe had an eating disorder, or you're a very athletic person, you may have an energy imbalance. You might have what they call hypothalamic amenorrhea. These women come in, they look healthy, they're Seattle's yoga teacher, triathletes, Iron Women, whatever, and they have intense exercise, but they may not always have enough nutrition for the reproductive access. It's not like it's intentional most of the time. They're just like, yeah, this is how I eat. I'm really active. I get by on it. And then when you measure their hormone levels and you find out like their estrogen is like at a pre-puberty level, there's no drug that's going to fix it. It is nutrition and lifestyle and helping people do the balance. And it's important that all the healthcare team screens for eating disorders anywhere in this fertility world, because people who enter fertility clinic have higher rates of eating disorders.
It's so helpful to look at like all the different factors and the chronic disease. Let's say you find out you have PCOS or you have insulin resistance. Like, what are some of the preliminary steps that you walk people through to start to work on fertility if they're like, I'm overwhelmed?
Right. So first I want them to understand the diagnosis and how it impacts their body and that they're not alone, right? And so we like to get the basic labs. Some of my patients have really benefited from using CGMs or continuous glucose monitors. And even if they use them short term, they can kind of see things like, for example, if they were meal skipping and then were really hungry and ate sort of something imbalanced for them, like it was really high carb, not a lot of protein, not a lot of fiber, they're like, wow, I can't believe my blood sugar went up to 180 or 200. And so I have a number of people who go ahead and get them on their own, and they ask me about them. They're like, what other tools can I do to bring in? So looking at their digestion, are they getting enough fiber? They actually have enzymes that are produced on the gut lining that will help. So if there's excess estrogen state, such as often in PCOS or endometriosis, that extra fiber will help those enzymes actually break down and remove it. And it's like, that's a pretty cool thing. And is what I hope most of our listeners know, having a healthy gut biome, adequate fiber from enough plant food, and you can only get that kind of fiber from plants. You can't get it from meat and chicken and fish, right? Or eggs. Really will help with immune system, which we think has an impact for some people in fertility. So I think that's where the personalized medicine comes in. There isn't one size fits all PCOS diet, but helping with balance and getting their nutrition needs.
That offers people so much hope. Speaking of personalized nutrition, I wanted to talk about how we approach supplements in this space, because there are a lot of prenatal products out there. How do you approach that conversation with people that you're working with for fertility?
Yeah, I try to normalize it first, because I have two extremes. I have the people who aren't taking any and probably should be. And then I have the extreme that they literally could fill my table with 27 supplements. And I'm very neutral about it. And I said, oh, can you share with me why you've chosen to take these supplements? And quite honestly, Ginger, sometimes women will say, well, my Facebook group told me to take this. My mother-in-law, like, they don't even know why they're taking them. And then I ask permission, can we break down and go through these and see which would make the most sense for you? Because, and usually they're kind of like, thanks, because that's $300 a month, or what do I really need? So I really I talk to them, okay, here's the basic bare bone. If you're actively trying to conceive, not like you're thinking about it in 3 years, 3 months prior to conception, you should be on the minimum. The minimum is a woman's multivitamin that has folic acid. You want them to be content verified. More expensive is not better. And we've actually seen, although you only need 400 to 600 milligrams of folic acid, in the fertility studies, they have found 800 to 1,000 to be helpful for trying to conceive, and that's a safe amount. Iron, at least 18 to 27 milligrams. If you can't tolerate iron on your stomach, go without it. Take a supplement without it, and you can wait till you're pregnant to get that iron, okay? And honestly, I mentioned the vitamin D. If you're truly vegan, you're going to need supplemental choline. And now we know choline, which a lot of women fall short of that 450 microgram. It's very bulky. It's hard to put into a prenatal, not that hard to get from diet. So if women are eating at least 3 or 4 eggs a week and they have some animal products, I'm not really concerned. If they're really plant-based, I do recommend a separate, maybe 350 milligrams of choline in a vegetarian form, but you don't have to get all of everything in your supplement. Does that make sense?
Totally. It's like a supplement to your diet. I have a fun thing for us to do. I have like a rapid fire question segment for you. Do you want to try it?
I'm ready.
How do you help clients manage pregnancy cravings for certain foods?
I love it. Well, usually when someone's craving, a few things are going on. Often they're not eating enough. And they don't realize that, especially in second, third trimester, your nutrient needs are going up. Okay. So, and sometimes they're exhausted. First trimester, they're exhausted. So often they wake up from this post-work nap and they're like, I'm craving pasta or chocolate. They need energy, right? So I help them lean into the more nutrition-dense versions. Like, don't grab that bar. You probably need a meal. You probably need a snack. You need some real food. But one thing to tell your listeners really quick is there's something called pica. I've only had it 4 times in the decades I've been a dietitian. And that is a craving for a non-food item. It's usually ice cubes, but it could be weird things like chewable chalk or other things like that. Almost always when it's ice, get their iron checked. They almost always have iron deficiency anemia. But otherwise, I say lean into the cravings, lean into the nutrient dense, and really help with meal planning. Hey, you need more. You are eating for 2. Your needs are up, and it's okay to eat.
Love it. Love it. And similar, how much weight gain is considered typical across the trimesters? How do you approach that with people of different body sizes?
Yeah. So I tell people it's 0 to 5 pounds probably in their first trimester, but I have a lot of patients that have nausea and they're -9. They're actually losing weight, or they were on IVF and the drugs, the progesterone was causing some weight gain. So I tell them it can vary, but weight gain is not a necessary first trimester, but you can pretty much figure that for second and third trimester, weight gain can range between 0.5 and 1 pound a week. And it is not linear. It goes all over the place. And a lot of the people I work with that have been eating more healthful, more nutrient-dense foods and larger bodies, sometimes they don't start gaining weight till about 20 weeks. And that's okay. They have their nutrient stores because in the beginning, we're building the placenta, we're building the environment for the baby, and we're building up fat stores. So if those women have that, they may not gain till later, and that's okay.
How much water should someone drink during pregnancy?
Well, you got to up it a little bit because you are now providing fluid for another person. So American College of OBGYNs recommends 8 to 12 cups. So think 64 to 96 ounces, but slow down at night because you're already urinating more frequently and it really disrupts your sleep. So I say start the fluids earlier and think about fruits and all that have fluid, or sometimes even a smoothie or some nice beverages you can have during the day to keep you well hydrated.
Yeah, I love that. So many of my clients, pregnant or not pregnant, have issues not wanting to hydrate too much at night.
Oh, I know. It's a tough one.
Well, final one in this set, morning sickness and nausea. What are your go-to strategies for balancing that issue while getting enough nutrition?
Oh, it's a challenging one. The first is making sure that they understand that we have to keep them nourished and we have to find strategies to do that. So I like a lot of fresh air in their living space, windows open, fans, using vents from cooking. If you have a support person, let them handle the kitchen, and that you want to stay ahead of the nausea. So that might mean crackers at your nightstand, having your partner get you a piece of toast in the morning, those kind of simple carbs. Don't worry so much about the fiber. Get your gut settled. And then my other favorite thing is fresh citrus, ginger for ginger, is that when you smell something fresh like citrus, orange, lemon, lime, and ginger, it really sends some messages to your brain that can help for a lot of women manage their nausea. And if animal protein is driving you crazy, go with cheese and yogurt, and we can modify things to get you through the tough spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. I see this a lot with oncology, and it's really great if I have someone that has once been pregnant and I'm like, hey, what worked for you then? Because it's really similar. I really appreciate what you said about not trying to catch up to the nausea, stay ahead of it. I think that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make.
Yeah. Eat when you're not hungry. Just keep nibbling every 2 hours. And that will really kind of keep some of that nausea in rest when you're really tired. For trimester can be really challenging.
It's time for one of my favorite segments, Ask Dr. Ginger. Unfortunately, many people deal with nausea during pregnancy, and one of our listeners wants to know if I have any tips or tricks for overcoming it. While I'm not an expert in pregnancy nutrition, I do work with many people who have nausea related to medications or treatment. Here are some of the tips that I give them. First of all, have some sort of well-tolerated food first thing in the morning before getting out of bed. Sometimes something like crackers or toast works really well for my clients. I also suggest spacing out supplements. If you take too many all at once, it can make nausea worse. It's really important to rely on cool or cold, easy to consume foods. Think smoothies or something blended for nutrients and protein. I also really recommend that my clients take anti-nausea medications as prescribed. A lot of people just wait too long and they're feeling really sick when there's actually some help out there for them. I also suggest that my clients take advantage of the times when they feel good. So sometimes people feel best in the morning or they do better at dinner time. So really take advantage of the times a day where you feel less nauseous and more energetic. Remember that small, frequent meals are your friend. Eating large portions can make these feelings worse. And so if you have nausea or vomiting, just go really slow and have small portions throughout the day. And finally, utilizing calming herbs like ginger or peppermint in tea form can be really soothing. Maybe you have it hot, maybe you have it iced, but those can be hydrating and really calming to the stomach. Plant-based diets are good for a lot of different situations in chronic health, but tell me more about plant-based diets in relation to fertility and being pregnant.
Absolutely. So the reason they're so important is they're so nutrient dense, and we can't get these nutrients, as much of these nutrients from a fully animal-based diet, which, you know how the pendulum swings back in the public with carnivore, paleo, whatever, wherever it's running. And so really what we have found is, yes, we can manage chronic disease and chronic conditions, but inflammation. So if I ask patients, I go, what do you think the most anti-inflammatory food group is? It's fruit. And you're not going to get all those polyphenols and beautiful blueberries and pomegranates. So that's one of the reasons we recommend having at least 3 fruits a day, at least 3 fruits, right? Not eating a bar that has vitamin C. You're not going to get those polyphenols. You're not going to get those plant proteins. So the reason we want this more plant-forward type of a diet is it's been shown in multiple studies that couples who eat more fruits, vegetables, whole grains have a shorter time to conception. So that anti-inflammatory benefit is going to help both zygotes, both the egg and the sperm, have the best potential to be their healthiest if they are exposed to these antioxidants, a low glycemic environment, which is going to be helpful for implantation and healthy pregnancy, reducing miscarriage. So we really want to make sure those plants are on the plate. I've had people that only eat out Ginger. That's all they do. They only eat out or they carry in. And I've helped them and they have felt unjudged how they can add plant food in. You're getting Thai food, add one vegetarian dish with tofu. Tofu is wonderful for fertility. Add it in. And they're like, they were able to avoid expensive IVF, get pregnant, have a healthy baby, take it one step at a time, but they got healthy enough. So yeah. So yes, adding those plants in is only going to benefit you. You're going to poop like a champ, help your digestive system, and absorb those nutrients you need for conception and pregnancy.
I really like your inclusive approach to like, you don't have to be a chef and cook everything at home. Like you can add more fruits and veggies in any type of lifestyle. What is one key takeaway you wish everyone knew about supporting fertility through nutrition?
That it really needs to be like the number one partner, that you have to be healthy. Everybody has to nourish themselves. So it should be number one, not like, well, thinking about what to eat or food prep is like number 17 on my list. No, we all need to eat healthfully every day. And if you want to optimize your health, your fertility, your pregnancy, it needs to be important.
I love that. That's a really great big picture one. What I heard from you today was also like within that, making nutrition a priority. Fiber is key, and increasing fruits and veggies, because most people don't get enough, actually makes an evidence-based difference in fertility.
Yes, and whole grains too, because I feel like there are people that are like, oh yeah, you need fat, you need protein, and they're leaving out the grains, Ginger. And I'm sorry, that's really sad because they have so many trace minerals, they have protein, they have fiber, and they give us energy. We need energy. If we want these people to move, we have to give them energy food, right? And it's okay. It's okay. The amount is going to vary by what the person's needs are, right? The person who's running is going to need more grains and the other person. So kind of adding a little intuitive eating competence into that too, right?
Yeah, 100%. I told a client the other day that oats, like oatmeal, have antioxidants, and they were really surprised. But whole grains, totally underrated, I think.
They are underrated, and they're not expensive, and they're delicious, and they're easy to prepare.
Whole grains for fertility. I really appreciated Judy highlighting that both women and men need to be mindful of their nutrition in the preconception phase. It's easy to assume fertility is solely the responsibility of the person carrying the baby, but that's far from the truth. In part 2 of our conversation, we'll be diving into the 4th trimester. That's the critical period right after birth. We'll cover topics like recovery, lactation, and how to nourish a mom so they can nourish their baby. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd be so grateful if you left us a rating and review. It really helps others find the show.